let's just go ahead and give it a taste and see how it turned out going in. I'm going to be completely honest with you right now. Hey there, folks. Welcome to the channel. I'm glad you could be here. If you haven't guessed already, we've got another Must or Bust episode lined up for you today. And this particular episode is one that you guys have been requesting for a very, very long time. We're talking about Chuds BBQ, Mr. Bradley Robinson Seasoning Pack, Nice and Plump. If you're new to this series, let me just explain very quickly what we do. We watch the original content creators episode on how to make a sausage. We'll then replicate it here on this channel, give it a taste, and then determine whether it was a must or whether it was a total bust. If it is a bust, what we will then do is rewrite the recipe and turn it into something spectacular. In today's episode, though, it's going to be a little different because we are talking about a seasoning pack, and so we'll see how it plays out. It's either going to work or it's not going to work. Let's watch the episode.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made this beautiful, delicious, smoky, plump, amazing beef and pork sausage made with the all-new Nice and Plump Chuds BBQ sausage starter mix. Coming up! This is some meat. Ooh.
Okay.
Pat it dry. And what I got here is a big old chunk of a pork butt, as well as some lean brisket sections. Fat cap still on there. And we're gonna start things out the way we always do, just by cubing this up so it fits in the meat grinder and chills down a little bit quicker. Going for a beef and pork blend today, because I like a beefy porky sausage. But of course, you can do whatever you want. You can do a lamb sausage, all beef, all pork. I've done turkey sausages, chicken sausages. It's all good, folks.
Great technique. Cube the meat, chill it, and then grind it, ensuring that you don't smear the fat. Huge problem in the home sausage making community. The meat doesn't get chilled, it gets ground, and the next thing you know, you've got a sausage that's dry and crumbly. Nobody likes that. Loving the combination of meat he's using. A beef and pork sausage just makes for a great sausage. Slightly different texture than an all pork sausage. And honestly, it doesn't really matter how much beef or pork you add. You could do 50-50, which it kind of seems like that's the direction we're heading. You could do 80-20, 40-60. It's a personal preference. I do like that he said you could use whatever protein you want. Turkey, chicken, maybe game meat, alligator, beef, pork, combination of the two. And the Nice and Plump, it says here, sausage starter mix will get the job done. And it's interesting that it's worded that way because it kind of paints a picture in my mind that although this seasoning pack could probably stand alone if it has good flavor, but it may be more intended to provide like the foundation for your sausage, and then you can at that point start to add other things and then make it your own. So we'll see how that works.
But when it comes to beef/pork ratios, it's really whatever you want.
Okay.
I usually go with luck of the
Nice.
draw, you know? If it's 50-50, that's great. If it's 70-30, that's great too. Beautiful day to be making some sausage, I tell ya. Rain is dripping on my legs. Looking good. What I got here is exactly 5 pounds of a mixture of beef and pork. I don't know what the actual ratio between beef and pork is, but looks like it's about 50-50. But now I'm gonna pop this in the freezer to get nice and cold before we send it through the meat grinder. As for the flavor profile of today's sausage, I'm very excited to announce this. All new Chuds BBQ sausage starter mix. That's right, folks. I took all of my favorite sausage ingredients and I bagged them up perfect amount for a 5-pound batch of sausage. Because if you've seen a lot of my sausage making videos, you may have noticed that I tend to put a lot of the same ingredients in every sausage that I make. And especially if you've seen my 5 master ratios for sausage making, you know that I always include kosher salt and a binder, typically milk powder. That's what's in this, by the way. And then a baseline of good flavor like garlic, paprika, black pepper, that sort of thing. And to be honest with you, I got sick of measuring out the same amount of the same ingredients time after time. So in this cute little bag, look at that little sausage, man. He's so cute. You simply add this to 5 pounds of meat. It can be whatever meat you like. You can probably just get yourself some ground beef or ground pork, but as long as you get your fat content right, simply open this package, add it to 5 pounds of meat, mix it up, case it, and you are good to go. And the reason I want to do a real simple, real middle of the road with the flavor profile of this is because this is just the base, right? On its own, it makes for a great sausage, but really, this gives you everything you need and a bit of a blank canvas of a perfectly seasoned, nice savory sausage that that you can then customize to whatever you're making. Like if I was gonna make chorizo, I would start with this and then I would add some oregano and probably more paprika, some cayenne, things like that. If I was gonna do a jalapeno cheddar, I would start with this and then add jalapenos and cheddar. Could not be simpler. And as I mentioned, this does include high temp milk powder as the binder because I've had great results with that. But another thing to note is that there is no pink salt in this. And that's because there's a bit of a learning curve when it comes to pink salt and using it correctly. And I didn't want anyone to use it wrong and get sick and then come back and blame me for it. So basically this is for a perfect fresh sausage, which is what we're making today. And then if you do want to do a cured sausage or a cold smoked sausage, you simply add about 5 grams of pink salt to this mix and you are good to go.
All right, pretty simple spice mix, and it makes sense. Fresh sausage, no curing salt in this spice mix. Matter of fact, the ingredients say milk, that's the high temp milk powder, salt, spices, garlic, and paprika. So this makes a fresh sausage, protein of your choice. If you want to turn it into a cured sausage, because you are making, 5 pounds, all you got to do is add 1 level teaspoon of Insta Cure #1 or Prog Powder #1 or whatever. Since we're here and talking about it, I do have one tiny little baby concern, and it may not necessarily materialize, but I figured since it's on my mind, I might as well talk about it. I watched Bradley's master ratio video. Great video. He tends to prefer the 2% salt in a sausage. I tend to prefer the 1.5% salt in a sausage. And honestly, there's not a right or wrong answer here. It just comes down to personal preference. I find 2% to be a little salty. My guess is that we've got 2% salt inside this little packet right here because it's Bradley's spice mix and that's what he would always add to his sausage. And so if all of that is true and there's 2% salt in here, I'm thinking this may be a little on the salty side. Once again, totally speculating. We obviously haven't tasted it yet. I haven't even opened up my first pack, so we will find out. And in my mind, if it is too salty, it's an automatic bust. Don't even waste your money. Spice mixes are notoriously too salty. And so I'm hoping that it's not. Let's continue with the video and then we are gonna cook one up.
Yeah. Now that our meat is sufficiently chilled, I'm gonna throw some gloves on. Through the grinder we go. If I remember to plug it in first. Going through the coarse die today. What is that, a 10 millimeter, I think? It is the typical way you're gonna see sausage made around these parts. Pretty coarse, but nothing too big. And that's half the reason I make these chunks so small, is because you can just kind of drop them in, and that way nothing gets clogged up, and you don't need to bust out the horn and really stuff this stuff through.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with Bradley more in this particular situation. There's obviously a lot of different ways that you can grind your meat. You can cut it up into strips and chunks, and really at the end of the day, it depends on the size grinder that you have. If you have a larger grinder, then you can obviously cut your pieces a lot bigger. If you find yourself grabbing for the plunger and you're smashing the meat down the throat of the grinder for whatever reason, maybe you got a traffic jam down there or you overloaded it, then you're gonna eventually create more problems for yourself later down the road. Your meat's temperature is going to skyrocket, the quality of your grind isn't going to be nearly as good, and the quality of your sausage is ultimately going to be the one that suffers. Easiest way to do that, cut chunks that are small enough to fit into the head of your grinder, partially freeze it, don't totally freeze it, and then hand feed those chunks in a little bit at a time. You're going to have an absolutely beautiful grind. Matter of fact, the way Bradley's doing it right here is perfect.
Beautiful, nice clean grind on that. And now it's time to add our lovely sausage mix. Couldn't be much simpler than this, folks. Love it. And now all we need to do is get this mixed up. Just make sure everything is evenly distributed throughout the meat. Smells good. And then we're gonna go in with our liquid, which is just some water today, 10% by weight. So that's about 226 grams. And now we're just gonna mix this up.
Mixing your meat is incredibly important. You're trying to extract protein. So you might hear other content creators, myself included, talk about protein extraction. And that's because meat has several different types of proteins, one called myosin and one called actin, and they are salt soluble. So the minute you add salt, in this case it's going to be the seasoning pack, you will be extracting those two proteins, and as you mix that meat, extracting more of those proteins, you're going to be creating a glue-like web, a matrix if you will, that's going to give you that classic sausage texture. Now, not every single sausage in the world has that exact same texture. If you look at Mexican chorizo, it's a very loose and crumbly sausage. If you look at the South African boerewors, that is another relatively loose sausage. And so it just depends on the kind of sausage that you're making. But for this particular sausage mix, it looks like we are going for that classic, well bound together, nice and plump, juicy sausage. Let's continue.
So let's mix this by hand for probably about 3 minutes. Tacks up pretty quick. And there we go, looking nice and sticky, nice and tacky. So let me case this up. Ooh, yeah, nice and plump, just like the package says. And I'm gonna go for some sausages about yay. Pretty typical size. Loving the color of this though. And I must say, from a video making perspective, this shoot has gone so much quicker because I didn't have to weigh out every single ingredient. And just like that, we've got ourselves 5 pounds of some beautiful, nice and plump sausages. Oh, they're so pretty. I'm gonna park these in front of a fan for about 30 minutes to help dry out those casings a little bit.
Drying your sausage is such an important step, especially if you're going to be doing long cooks. 2, 4, 6 hours, it doesn't really matter. The reason we dry our sausage, and it has nothing to do with whether smoke adheres to a dry sausage better than a wet sausage. The reason we dry our sausage is because we actually want the meat that's on the inside, with all that protein that's been extracted, it's super sticky, we want it to glue itself to the dry casing. When the casing is wet, it doesn't really glue so well, and in the process of cooking, if you have rendered fat, that rendered fat is going to create a very thin layer between the wall of the casing and the meat, and it's going to make your casing tough and chewy. But if the casing is glued to the meat, that thin wall layer isn't going to form, and your casing is going to be nice and snappy. So super glad that he mentioned that. If you're making sausage, you definitely want to give it a dry.
As you can see, these have been nicely air chilled, looking a little bit drier than they were before. So I'm gonna go ahead and snip these all apart real quick. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and throw these on the pit. So again, there's no cure in these links, so we're gonna be keeping this pit around probably 225, 250 for just a couple hours, going as smoky as possible. That way we get some good flavor, good color, but we're not gonna keep these in the danger zone for too long. And I'm keeping it on this wire rack just to make sure everything stays nice and clean and makes for easy transport. All right, folks, we're about 3 hours into this sausage cook. Cooked it nice and low and slow, nice and smoky for the first few hours, bumped it up to around 275, and these things are feeling very hot, as always. Ow, but they're looking nice and red, nice and plump. Still hot. Woo! Pull these off, let them cool down for a bit. 169, folks. That's what we're after. Oh, God, it's hot. Oh, I don't want to burn myself. Looking pretty juicy.
I got to agree with Bradley. Great looking sausage. Beautiful mahogany color. That's what happens when you increase the temp of your smoker right at the very tail end. You're pumping it with smoke, especially for 3 hours. You're going to get that absolutely gorgeous color. No cure. Looks pretty dang good, you know what I'm saying?
All right, boys, this is the all-new Chuds BBQ sausage mix. Test number 1. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Give it a try.
We got a little bullseye going on this one.
It's delicious, Brad.
So good.
That's all.
All right, y'all, and that is it. That is the all-new sausage mix from Chuds BBQ. I highly recommend giving this a try, especially if you're new to making sausage. This is a really great way to get a good start and take all the guesswork out of your salt ratios, binder ratios, and all that sort of stuff. And like I said, this is really good, just middle of the road, good tasting sausage, savory, a little bit of spice, black pepper, garlic, just classic flavors, but it's also a really great starting point for whatever kind of sausage you want to make.
Pretty simple. Protein doesn't seem to be a big issue. You could use whatever you want as long as you have 5 pounds of ground meat. The Chuds BBQ sausage starter mix, nice and plump. We're going to go ahead and mix up a batch. It does sound like this is going to provide a middle of the road, slightly savory, slightly spicy sausage, but then again, all of that is subjective. We're going to give this a test and see what happens. For the meat selection in today's sausage, we're going to keep it pretty much the same. A nice beef and pork combination. I'm probably going to do 60% pork, 40% beef, and then 30% back fat, which is what this is right here. For the pork, we are going to be using pork shoulder, and just remember to cut your pieces small enough so that they fit into the throat of your grinder, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second, and pre-chill it before you grind it, and that's what this is right here. It is partially frozen, and we're going to be grinding this on a number 12 grinder from the sausage maker using a 6mm plate.
Very nice grind. That's what I'm talking about. Now we just got to mix everything up. We've got our nice and plump packet. Very easy instructions. Add this pack to 5 pounds of ground meat, mix, case, and cook. Pretty easy. Now Bradley did add 10% water, and we're able to do this because this packet already has a binder, and so that's what we're going to be doing as well. This is what it looks like. Opened up, quick smell. All right. Smells nice. Little paprika, little black pepper. Definitely picking up on that dairy from the non-fat dry milk. Some of that garlic coming through. It has a very pleasant aroma, but how does it taste? At the end of the day, really, that's all that matters, and we're going to be getting to the bottom of that here in a second. Let's turn the mixer on, and I'm going to be adding my 10% moisture. This is going to help loosen up the batter, add a little extra juiciness to our end result. It's going to be absolutely beautiful if it has great flavor. There's the asterisk. After a couple minutes of mixing, look at that bind. Great sticky, lot of protein extraction. Okay, I'm loving that. The casing that I'm using is a hog casing, 29-32 millimeter. We got it from the sausage maker. I like this particular size. It's the most tender of the hog casings. But if you want to go bigger, not a problem. You know, get into that 35-36 millimeter, nice fat sausage. Shoot, if you want to go smaller, get into some sheep casing. I'm sure that'd be fine too. This is coming out of our 5-pound sausage stuffer with no problem. Also from the sausage maker. And time to give these a link. Now, the way that I prefer to link sausage is using the entire rope. So we're going to alternate the way that we twist. The first one was 3 twists forward. The next one is 3 twists towards us. Now, you could do it this way, or you could do it the way Bradley did, coming out of the, stuffer one at a time. I would suggest to try a couple different techniques and then just stick with the one that works best for you. As soon as I'm done twisting the links, we're going to find any air pockets and then give them a prick. And what I'm going to do is put this in front of a fan for a half an hour so that we can go ahead and cook it tonight. But if you want, you can refrigerate it and then cook it, the next day or the following day, and that would be okay as well. Into the smoker it goes. We are using a convection smoker from Smoking It, and this particular smoker tends to cook a little bit faster because it has convection. So I'm going to be sticking our meat probe into that sausage, which is going to be absolutely critical for what we're trying to achieve. And then we're going to fire up the cold smoke generator. Both the smoker and the generator are from Smoking It Smoker, and we're just going to get a nice steady stream of beautiful, flavorful smoke through this cook. Now, because I'm using a convection smoker, my cook times and my temperatures might be a little different than yours because, like I said, this does tend to cook a little bit faster than your offsets or your normal smokers. So we're going to turn the unit on. I am going to turn the convection fan on to about 40%, but you can have it full blast if you want. It doesn't really matter. And I'm going to set the temperature of the smoker, see right there where it says step 1, to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to end the cook. So the ending says food temp when the temperature of the sausage gets to 155 F. All right? The reason I can cook this low is because it is a digital convection smoker. And in this smoker, I will get out of the danger zone in only about an hour and 20 minutes. If you have any other type of smoker, a non-convection smoker or a ceramic pit or an offset, you're definitely going to want to cook your sausage at 200 Fahrenheit or hotter so that everything stays safe. We're at the tail end of our cook, and I just wanted to show you this right quick. Notice the set value of the smoker is at 180, that's on the left, and the temperature of the smoker is 178, no problems there. On the right of that, notice that the food temperature is at 148 Fahrenheit. That is definitely out of the danger zone. And if you look right there in the middle, total runtime, it says an hour and 52 minutes. That's how long we've been cooking. And so it only took about an hour and a half to get out of the danger zone. All right, our sausage is now finished cooking. I think total cook time for this particular sausage was around 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2 hours and 20 minutes, something like that. And they look absolutely perfect. We're going to cool them down in some cold water to halt the cooking process. And then I'm going to take a couple links and just heat them up. This is what our finished product looks like. Beautiful looking sausage. Very juicy. Nice bind. Smells great. Let's eat it.
Our sausage starter mix from Chuds BBQ, nice and plump. This looks absolutely beautiful. Smells amazing. Let's just go ahead and give it a taste and see how it turned out. Going in. I'm gonna be completely honest with you right now. I came into this video anticipating that the Nice and Plump was gonna be way too salty. I could not be more wrong. Matter of fact, the salt level's perfect. And I don't know if this was intentional or if it was accidental, because I'm fairly positive we've got 2% salt in this mix. And for me, across the board, 2% is just way too salty. But I'm almost gonna bet that we probably have between 3 and 4% of the milk powder. And that extra creaminess from the milk powder, which I'm definitely picking up, it's actually quite nice, is helping to balance the saltiness, giving you a final taste of something that just seems incredibly balanced. I'm getting hints of garlic, the paprika's coming in. I don't find it to be too spicy. I just, like Bradley said, very middle of the road. By itself, the flavor that this brings to the sausage, I think it's a pretty good base. I mean, personally speaking, I don't think it's mind-blowing, right? Like if you like exotic sausages with a lot of bold flavors, I think that this is a good place to start. If you're just getting started in the world of sausage making and you don't want to go out and buy random ingredients that you'll probably never use in anything else, and you don't want to have to worry about measuring, I can 100% see where the Nice and Plump will get you to success pretty quick. And in my opinion, sausage making is all about small baby steps of success. It's very easy to ruin sausage and it can be very discouraging. And so if you can get success at any level, that's a huge win for me. And this seasoning pack makes sausage making super approachable, which I really like. Overall, I think that the flavor profile is low key. It's balanced. It's not overwhelming in one particular area. It makes a sausage. It's got a very beautiful bind. It retains a lot of juiciness. It's got a beautiful creamy element to it. Ultra easy to use. And for all of those reasons, I feel like the Nice and Plump starter seasoning mix is a must, especially if you're just getting started in the world of sausage making. Here's what we're gonna do. Now that I've got a baseline for what the flavor is of the Nice and Plump, we're gonna make another 5-pound batch of sausage. And we're gonna flavor it a little more two guys and a cooler style. See if we can turn it into something ridiculous.
I'm going to add some red pepper flakes, kick up the heat on this sausage, some Insta Cure #1, as well as some mustard seeds going in. We've got some black pepper and some coriander. It already has black pepper. We're going to boost that pepper flavor a little bit. And then we're going to be adding one of my favorite ingredients called SavorYE. This is an ingredient that I'm actually coming out with in the next 3 to 4 weeks. It's an absolutely amazing ingredient, not only for sausage, but all kinds of marinades and soups and stews. And it is an incredible flavor enhancer. It's going to add a beautiful dimension of flavor and really take this sausage to the next level. We're going to be adding beer. So originally we added water. We're going to be adding beer to this sausage, and you could use pretty much any liquid you want. You could do chicken stock, and if you want to do cream, you could do cream. It's up to you. So that's going to be going in, as well as some crispy bacon and some smoked Gouda. Now this happens to be high temp cheese. You don't need high temp cheese for this recipe, but it is what I had on hand, so that's what we're going to be using. Finally, we're going to be adding a little chopped jalapeno, and there we go. I'm loving the flavor profile that I'm looking at right here. We should get beautiful layers of flavor that will bloom on the tongue as you eat this sausage. Let's get it mixed. And I gotta admit, so far, this has been a very easy process. 1 packet of Nice and Plump into 5 pounds of ground meat. Now we're adding our spice mix to that, 10% beer, and then we're gonna add our bacon and jalapenos. And just a little tip, if you're making 5 pounds of sausage and you have a binder, you can add 1 cup of liquid. That's just about the equivalent of 10%. We're going to mix it till it's nice and tacky, and look at that. That is just a beautiful, beautiful mix so far. Very sticky. I like to add my cheese towards the end of the process. You can add your cheese towards the beginning, but you do run the risk of the mixing process kind of breaking up those little cubes. But honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Cheese going in. We're only going to mix for about 20 seconds or so. Raise the bowl, finish the process. Oh, that is so sticky. Beautiful protein extraction going on right here. I'm loving that. Okay, at this point, we are done. Our meat mixture is properly mixed. We need to get this into a casing. I'm just going to kind of blast through this one section because we're not doing anything special. 29, 32 millimeter casing, and then I'm going to twist in alternating directions. Once again, once I'm finished, I'm looking for any air pockets, give it a little prick. And because this is a cured sausage, and I did not add any cure accelerator, we are going to place this into our refrigerator overnight. That's going to let the cure do its job. Tomorrow, we're going to cook. And it's now the next day, and as you can see, my smoker is already fired up, and I just finished cooking up a batch of delicious South African cheese grillers. Let's get our probe in there. Excellent. All right. I'm going to get the cold smoke generator going. I'm using hickory and pecan wood. And because this is a cured sausage, we're going to cook this low and slow, really develop that smoky flavor, maintain that juiciness. So let's turn the smoker on. My convection is set at 40-50%. No problem there. And let me show you the programming for our digital smoker so that you can see how we stair-step the cook. Our first step is 125 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's going to cook for an hour and a half. Automatically, after an hour and a half, the smoker is going to go to step 2, and you can see right there we have that set to 150 degrees, and it's going to hang there for 2 hours. Now, because this is a convection smoker, we are going to be getting pretty close to our final temp, and so step number 3, I'm going to program to, let's put it 175. I don't want it too hot. So I'm going to click in 175, hit enter, and instead of a timed setting for step number 3, we're going to do a food temp setting, and we want the final temp of our sausage to be 145 degrees Fahrenheit. So notice that's a lot lower than you would typically cook a pork sausage. Our final step, step number 4, we're going to back the temperature of the smoker down to 145 and use it as a pasteurization warming box, and we're going to let it hang there for about 15 minutes. And that's it. By the time this cook schedule is over, our sausage will be perfectly cooked. And I will admit, doing what I'm doing here in any other type of smoker is pretty difficult, but the digital smokers from Smokin' It are absolutely amazing. And they cook sausage so freaking good. All right, we're going to cool that sausage down. Take 2 links, warm them up, and that's what I've got going on right here in front of me. And let's see what this sausage looks. I've got a nice tight casing. The cheese is ultra creamy. I mean, check that out. Very juicy, incredible aroma. Only one thing left to do. Let's eat.
Round number 2 with the nice and plump. Check that out. Beautiful looking slice. Great bind. Smells amazing. Ultra cheesy. The base packet provided a nice foundation. It's got a subtle flavor profile. Certainly not going to offend anybody. Great place to start. Round number 2, we started to add a few of our own favorite ingredients. Kicked up the spice level. Cheese, jalapenos, bacon. Definitely got a beautiful darker color. We did cook it a little lower and a little slower, so it took on a little bit more of that smoke. Let's see how we did. Wow. Now that's a sausage. Banging. Loving the additional heat. Love that smoked Gouda cheese too. I mean, that is so flavorful and so creamy. That SavorYE that we added, I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's amazing. Just enhances it and adds this ultra umami beefy element to your sausage. And it takes the ordinary and turns it into extraordinary. Loving the mustard seed. The mustard seed is just such a fun addition to a sausage. You get these bursts of flavor. It's almost as if the mustard seed, through the process, sort of absorbs the sausage flavor, and then they pop when you eat them. Absolutely amazing. I got to go in again. A little smokier than version 1. And I love that beef-pork combination, like I said at the beginning. Here we go. Wow, that is so good. And I wish I could take credit for it. I could take 50% credit for it. I know the Nice and Plump provided the foundation. We squared it up with the rest. It is a little spicy. So if you're, maybe not into super spicy foods, drop the jalapeno portion by 50% and drop the red pepper flakes by 50%. It should be absolutely perfect. But I like spicy food. I'm getting this beautiful endorphin rush. Nice and plump, right? Kind of surprised with the way this turned out. Truth is, I was not expecting to like it as much as I do. Great start. If you're just getting started, it's definitely going to get you to where you need to be. And it might even give you the confidence to start to experiment a little bit with other flavors now that your foundation flavors are already kind of dialed in. If you want more information on that starter mix, I'll put a link to Brad's website in the description box below. And if you have used the Nice and Plump starter mix, or you're currently using it, let me know in the comment section what you think about it. Don't forget to check the description box because I will have the recipe for this particular sausage. Absolutely amazing. I'm kind of blown away. I was going to put this on my menu and make it available for purchase, but we only made 5 pounds. And yeah, I tell you right now that I didn't remotely make enough. This is my personal stash. All right. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. I know a lot of you are here for sausage related content and probably get annoyed whenever I do dragon fruit and freeze drying and all these other little projects that we're involved in. But don't worry, because we have got a ton of sausage content for you through the year. It's going to be absolutely epic, and I don't want you to miss a single episode. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. I don't even know what I'm going to call this. The Chuds Spicy Special. Huh? Wow. That's good.